This is a WKYT podcast.
Hello, everyone. It's October.
Spooky.
Happy Halloween!
Oh man, that was way too loud. We probably just terrified everyone. I'm going to turn this off now. So we discovered that there is an effects button on the box, which is like giving a children. It's like going to dinner and giving a child a toy drum and then asking them not to hit it during dinner.
The worst idea ever.
Yeah. So anyway, sorry to all of you for having to deal with that. Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Victor and Andrea. A very spooky Halloween themed episode. Andrea, doesn't it feel like Halloween? 97 degrees or something like that?
Ridiculous. It's been ridiculous. By the time this comes out, hopefully it will cool down a little bit.
Hopefully, I was getting ready to say. I think we are getting right in the middle of a drop off and even some potential 40s.
You know what else
next week.
October means?
What's that?
My birthday.
Oh.
The end of my 20s. This is a big year for me.
That is spooky.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it.
The grim specter of death hangs over you.
Are we going to do another episode where you harp on death?
No, that got a little. Although that one may have been more appropriate for the Halloween episode.
You know, it may have been.
And we're not going to go full out Halloween. We've still got a few weeks to go until, we've still got Halloween candy to talk about.
Oh, so
We've got
much.
favorite costumes. We can talk about that. But I figured today, because I have a friend who every day during Halloween or during the month of October, he and his family watch a scary movie.
That's awesome.
Every day. And then he'll put a review up on Facebook of how it was.
Ooh, I like. So, everybody gets into Christmas movies, right? So
Yeah.
there are a lot of good scary movies.
There are a lot of them.
But no Hallmark channel for it, No equivalent.
Oh, no, there is. There's it's called Shudder.
Really?
Yeah, it's an online streaming thing. I don't know if they have. Well, there's a channel on cable too. I forget the exact name of it.
Nobody has cable anymore.
That's it, which is why there's an online streaming program called Shudder.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of scary movies on there, so you can watch your scary movies whenever you want.
So when you approached me about talking about scary movies, I was a little intimidated because at first I'm like, have I seen that many?
You just seen Hocus Pocus and that's it.
Well, I love Hocus Pocus, and what more do you need, honestly? But I did just watch The Nun.
That I saw the commercials for that, and that looks terrifying. That's in the Conjuring universe, right?
Yeah.
That is a big blind spot for me. I'm a huge horror movie fan, but all of those Conjuring movies, like Sinister and Annabelle and all those, I've never seen any of those. I think I just missed it from the beginning and never felt like diving in.
I'll be honest, I was not scared at all.
Really?
Yeah, it was too out there for me. It just didn't seem realistic enough.
Oh, well, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah,
Child's Play had that issue, too, with the little doll coming back to life. I just didn't think that was realistic.
Right, I'm like, this isn't doing it. Like, I don't know, it just wasn't for me. Like, with it, I enjoyed it because at least it's funny. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't find that one that scary either, but it was funny and a decent storyline, so I can get down.
So, yeah. I like horror movies when they actually make you like the characters. Some horror movies you find that it's just awful people dying, and at that point, why are you invested? But I like the ones where they make you care about them, and so then you feel invested whenever they either survive through these awful things that are happening, or they don't survive.
Can you think of an example where the bad guy is like the redeeming one, like in a scary movie?
Oh yeah, well, one of my I won't say favorite, but a scary movie I really enjoy, and I'm pretty sure. So we're going to talk about a list from Esquire, the 50 scariest movies of all time. We're not going to talk about all 50. We're just going to kind of go through the highlights. And
You didn't go to
I'll mention
Redbook?
one. I didn't.
Had to go to Esquire.
But there is a scary movie called No One Lives. I believe that's the name of it. Where it starts off with this group of they're criminals, and they're kind of going around kidnapping people. And at the beginning of the movie, I think they've set up inside some family's mansion. They've killed the family, and then they're kind of going through taking what they want. And so within about 15, 20 minutes, they kidnap a couple. And so they take the woman off separately. They take the guy. They've got him. They're getting ready to start torturing him. And they've got the couple's car. They pop the trunk, and there's a girl bound up in the trunk. And they take her thing off, and she's like, "Where is he? Where is he? Where is he?" And then as they start to, there's a big guy there who's attempting to start to torture the other guy. You realize that he's like dislocated his thumb, so he's been able to escape. And that guy who they kidnapped proceeds to start hunting down that group of like killers and criminals. And so then it becomes, I equated it was like Dexter versus Texas Chainsaw Massacre family. I mean, it was kind of like that.
Interesting.
So yeah, so they're
Not gonna lie, you lost me. I wasn't totally following it.
essentially
But I know Dexter, and I love that. That's a perfect example, really.
the guy
Yeah.
the guy they kidnapped ended up being a serial killer.
Gotcha.
And so then it
What are
becomes
the odds?
yeah. So then it becomes him hunting them down, and then it's like this group of killers stuck in a cabin with a guy hunting them down.
Okay, that's cool.
And so
You got to dumb it down for
Yeah,
me.
sorry,
I'm like,
I should've-
I don't.
But it also one of the people in it was WWE superstar Brodus Clay.
And that is how you found it.
That is literally how
Oh,
I found it.
I had no
But
doubt.
Luke Evans, the guy who played Gaston in the latest
yeah.
Beauty and the Beast, he's the killer
He's a
who's
handsome
coming after
man.
them.
Good
well,
looking.
there you go. So that's one I enjoyed that probably is not on the list, but that is an example of somebody when the bad guy. Ooh, another really good one that is an example of a bad guy.
Hit.
You can't even hear it though because I hit just right. We have very sensitive
Don't.
equipment. There's one called The Collector,
just right.
and it's about a thief who goes into a home. He's been told that the home is the family's gone on vacation, so he's going in to rob this or to burglar this home. We have to get our
Burgle.
we have to get our terminology right because whenever somebody says, "Oh, I was robbed," it's like,
still
no,
don't know the difference.
no, you're burglarized.
I get
Well,
confused every time. Do you have a trick?
yeah. Well, robbery is just a is when somebody steals from you with a threat of force.
Okay.
If you weren't around when it happened, you were burglarized.
Okay.
If you were there and you were robbed,
Okay.
basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
There you go. So when somebody says like I got home and I'd been robbed, no, they got home, they'd been burglarized.
Burgled.
It really does for normal people. It doesn't matter. It's just for charges, depending on what charges the person faces.
People love to correct us, though.
That's
they
true,
jump
too.
at the chance, so
Yeah.
that's always fun.
So there you go. So that's an easy way to remember. If you weren't there, you were burglarized. If you were robbed. So what was I talking about? Oh, the collector. So this guy goes into this home, but it turns out a serial killer had already got there to that home and had rigged it with booby traps, kind of like Saw. And this family is trapped in this home now, and he's got them in all these devices. And so it becomes this cat burglar trying to rescue these family members while there's also this serial killer in the house.
Oh my gosh.
And then it's this burglar versus this serial killer.
Okay.
And it's really good. There's two of them. There's Collector and The Collection, and they're both really good. I've got them on DVD. You can borrow them.
I would love to. Honestly, that sounds really good. Like, but why did he help? I would have been like, peace.
No, and he starts to, but then I think he finds the mom, and she's like,
Oh,
my kids are in
man.
here. Yeah.
And he's like, dang it.
Yeah. and so that's it.
Oh,
Yeah.
you'd have to help.
So that was very good. So yeah, let's get into the list.
Have you looked at the list?
I have not.
I figured
I'm going in
you
blind.
Were like, you've named a couple, and you're like, they might be on the list.
I'm going to guess a lot of the scary movies because this list seems kind of highbrow, and some of these I just
so perfect for us.
yeah I was getting ready to say. So let's go. Number 50, Blood and Black Lace from 1964. It's a stylish horror movie. I'm going to guess we haven't seen that one. Yeah. The Twin Peaks movie from 1992 is on here. Okay, we'll start at number 46, Scream. You've seen Scream, right?
Yes.
That one,
classic.
it literally changed the genre. Mm-hmm. It kind of was very self-referential. Jamie Kennedy's character always talked about the rules within a horror movie, which was
Breaking that fourth
they
wall
even
a
broke
little
some of
bit,
them, yeah. So that one, I remember.
Is that breaking the fourth wall? What is that called? I think there's a term
meta.
for it.
It's very meta.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, breaking the
that's
fourth wall is
fitting.
when you look at the camera.
Right. I know. I'm like, that's not what it is.
That's what Zach used to do in Saved by the Bell.
Right.
He'd literally look at the camera,
Right.
freeze time.
Yeah. And like The Office.
Which he's basically a supervillain. Don't even get me started on Zach from
Oh.
Saved by the Bell.
What is the
Zach
series?
Morris is trash.
Yeah.
I was thinking on
He
Facebook.
is.
Yeah.
If he didn't have such great hair,
Just
we would have
examples
known.
of what
We
a
were
bad
all
person
distracted by the beautiful blonde locks.
he is. Yes, so Zach Morris is trash. There you go.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember a whole lot about Scream. Is that weird?
No, I mean,
I'm looking-
it
who's
came out in
in it?
1996, so I mean, it was almost 30 years ago. Neve Campbell, Rose McGowan,
Maybe I haven't
Courtney
seen
Cox
it.
was in it. She played
Yeah,
the meteorologist or Gail Weathers. Was that her name?
I don't know. I got
Anyway.
nothing. Is
But-
that where she met David Arquette?
Yeah.
Ah,
that's how she became Courtney Cox
love
Arquette.
blossomed.
David Arquette was Dewey.
Dewey.
Detective Dewey. Very popular. Anyway, so
I'm
yeah,
gonna
I
have
mean,
to go back and refresh.
the movie was, the second one was okay, although people were really upset that Jamie Kennedy got killed. Spoiler. And he was so popular that in part 3, he kind of came back when they found a videotape that he had left for them, just because they wanted to be able to include him in the.
I just realized I was thinking of I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yes.
Because I was like,
With Jennifer Love Hewitt and
Yeah.
and
I was like, isn't Freddie Prinze Jr.
Daphne
in this
from
one?
Scooby Doo or
Yeah.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I guess I should say. Yeah, no, you. But they came out
Sarah
very
Michelle
similarly.
Gellar.
Yeah, that's her name. I was having a brain fart. They came out very close to each other, though.
Okay, maybe that's what I was very confused.
Yeah, and they both came out. I think when I was in high school, so I was
You were into
impressed
it.
by both of them. Oh, number 45, Cabin Fever. Have you ever seen it? It's about a group of friends that go in the wood, and they get a flesh-eating bacteria.
Whoa.
There isn't really even a villain in it, and it's just gross and also terrifying because people just start to succumb to this, and then some of them get paranoid and they kind of turn on each other.
Lovely. By the way, if you haven't already, I would grab a pen and paper and maybe jot these down because I'm I need to start a list of
You're
things I
learning
want to
stuff?
watch, and it would be good. We could do the whole thing where throughout the month I could maybe
could watch one? Yeah.
every night or a couple a week.
So yeah, Cabin Fever. Don't watch it while you're eating. I will say that. There's some.
I'm typically unfazed. I can just keep right on going.
Oh, number 42 on the list, The Witches, the one with Angelica Houston, where it's based on the Roald Dahl novel, where this Angelica Houston is a head witch in charge, and they're trying to go around to collect children. You never saw that when you were.
No.
It came out in 1990. It was a kids movie, but it was terrifying.
It really was?
Yeah. Well, at least when I was a kid.
Oh my gosh.
But it's
I
very
told
good.
you I would not be good on this podcast. I was like, I haven't seen
No, it's fine.
anything.
You're learning stuff.
I know. I
was-
just
I was
pulled
very
out my
much-
phone. I'm writing down a
I was a
note.
latchkey kid, so I watched a lot of movies. A lot
Yeah,
of time
that
at
makes
home
sense.
alone, and I learned a
I
lot
was
through
playing
that.
outside, I guess.
There you go. 1979, When a Stranger Calls. I have never seen it, but the calls coming from inside the house. It's that kind of. It's
Ooh, yeah.
basically where that originated from. Yeah. Number
Yeah.
39, Candyman. You look in the mirror and say Candyman 3 times, and he'll appear.
That's Bloody Mary.
Well, it's similar. It kind of got that from that. So Candyman, excellent. Also terrifying. I'm looking at this now. I'm like, wow, this came out when I was 11. I probably shouldn't have watched that.
Probably not. I don't, why did we do that to ourselves? I remember doing
don't
this
know.
at every sleepover I ever went to. We would all turn off the lights and light a candle and go say Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. And then we would scare ourselves to death and convince ourselves that we were seeing something that wasn't there.
Oh yeah,
how?
have nightmares.
Yeah.
You would get taught.
But it's fun. I don't know why.
My wife is not a fan of horror movies, and she told me a story about how when she was little, she would have nightmares after watching Scooby Doo, and her parents told her that if she,
Whoa.
she'd go try to crawl in bed with them, and they told her, no, if you can't sleep in your own bed at night, you won't be able to watch Scooby Doo.
Oh my gosh,
So,
Scooby-Doo.
yeah.
Wait, didn't
still
you just
kinda
get a
scary to
huge
her.
cardboard cutout
Oh yeah, when we were in Louisville, we found it at one of the
of
comic shops
the
up there.
Scooby-Doo van?
Of the Scooby Doo van.
I'm very confused
She's
now.
a huge Scooby Doo fan. It just scared her when she was little because of the
love
ghosts and
it.
stuff.
She overcame her fears. It is
right.
a sign of, yes, bravery, triumph.
She loves it now.
I love it.
Number 38 on the list, Let the Right One In. It's from 2008. It's a Scandinavian movie. They also did an American version, I want to say in 2010,
Wasn't as good.
2014. It was fine. The Scandinavian version I like a lot better. It's about this little 12-year-old boy who's kind of a loner. And the description on here is that 12-year-old boy falls in love for the first time and it's with a child vampire. I mean, that's kind of, so
Classic.
the other person, that he meets kind of takes him in and starts comforting. But then you realize that this vampire always needs somebody around to help during the daylight and stuff. And it's
Real needy.
but the kid is picked on a lot, and then the vampire decides to help him.
Nice.
And it doesn't. Well, it's
It
rough.
doesn't. Oh, okay.
Number 37, Jaws. I've never seen Jaws.
It's finally one I've seen.
I don't know how this has happened. It's just
I
a
don't
blind spot
either.
in my movie repartee,
I-
but I have never seen Jaws.
I feel like that is the equivalent of me never seeing Wizard of Oz. You know what I
There
mean?
you
Like
go.
such a classic.
No, yeah, that's one of the. I just always hear people talk about it, and I've listened to podcasts about it, and I feel like I've seen it almost, but I've never seen it.
Dun, 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 dun. You know that,
Yeah,
right?
well, you did until you start. It's like more of a steady. Dun, 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 dun.
I was just speeding up the process.
Okay, there you go. So yeah, I need to watch Jaws. I think
You
it's on Netflix.
absolutely
Maybe.
do. I mean, it's not going to be what it was like when I watched it when I was little. I wasn't used to the effects that we have today, so you may not be as scared, but it's pretty good. And honestly, for the time, it was great.
That's one of the things that made it so scary was the giant shark, Bruce. That's what they called it. That they had built. It kept malfunctioning. So as a result, Steven Spielberg just had to not show it.
Right.
And as a result of him not showing it, it made it
It
scarier.
made it scarier because
Yeah.
you were never ready for it. Yeah.
So
It
there
was
you go.
really good. Well, I didn't know that little tidbit, but I like that.
Yeah.
Steven Spielberg is so good.
Yeah. Just imagine that's one of his first movies, and just boom, knock it out of the park like that.
But I think people don't appreciate like silence enough.
Yeah.
Like the power of silence when you're reading
Well,
something or, when you're watching something
and just
that's
what you
huge
conjure
and-
with your own imagination is sometimes more terrifying than anything they could show on screen.
Yeah, exactly. It's like not showing it is scarier than showing it. So, yeah.
Number 35, Frankenstein from 1931. Another movie I've never seen, but I always wanted to. I'm a big fan of Boris Karloff. When I was a kid, I would always see like the monster movie magazines they would have in the school library, and I would see the makeup stuff and try to figure out how to do that.
That is impressive.
So that was...
Now, is that the one with, Everybody Loves Raymond?
Yeah, no, that's Young Frankenstein.
The dad? Oh, okay. I was like, I thought that was a comedy.
Also a great movie. But I don't think it's going to be on the list of scary. But you know what? You should definitely watch it because just some great performances. Gene Wilder is excellent in Young Frankenstein.
Okay.
But this is just regular Frankenstein. Let's see what else we got going on here. The Others from 2001. Is that the one with Nicole Kidman? Yeah. Where they live in the house. Mm-hmm. Her and her kids, and they keep thinking they hear ghosts in the house.
I've heard of it, and I know what you're
Spoilers
talking
for The
about.
Others. At the end of the movie, you find out they're actually the ghosts, and she had murdered her kids.
Whoa!
And so, like, they're stuck in the house now. Yeah, and it's actually new people moving into the house that they're encountering.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
Why did she murder her kids? On purpose? She did it on purpose?
yeah,
She was nuts?
yeah.
And the kids are there
It's been
haunting
a while
along
since
with her?
it's been a while since I've seen it. Yeah, they don't know that they're ghosts. Obviously,
Oh, they don't know that their mom killed them?
it's kind of like The Sixth Sense. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I know. 28 Days Later from 2002. Kind of the introduction of the fast zombie movie. It's set in England when there's kind of... Are you still pondering over The Others?
No, I'm remembering.
Are you thinking of Sandra Bullock, 28 Days?
No, I'm thinking. I watched this movie. I remember when I was in like middle school with like boys.
28 Days Later?
Yes, and I was just like, nothing happened. Don't worry. Spoiler alert: I never got lucky, and they didn't either. Nobody was getting lucky when I was in high school. I can tell you that right now.
Because
But
this movie's terrifying. That's kind of a hard movie to watch.
I was more terrified to be like sitting next to a guy, because I was such a nerd. I couldn't tell you a thing about the movie. I was very distracted.
So 28 Days Later, excellent movie. There's a horrifying part where this guy gets infected, and so they realize right away that he's getting infected, and so they murder him while he's still screaming like, no, don't.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yikes.
It's a tough movie. But it is another one of those zombie-type movies where you start to realize, the real danger is each other. Mm. Sorry. Number 29, Get Out from 2017.
Love.
Yes.
Finally.
One we've seen together, well,
Yes.
one we've both seen, and then, that's a great movie.
It really
And
is.
it's another one that intersperses humor.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's so important, though. Like, I remember when Steve Hartman was here and he was talking about how you have to make people laugh before you can make them cry. So I think it's probably good to make them laugh before you scare them to death.
If you spend an hour and a
The
half,
juxtaposition.
exactly. If you spend an hour and a half just being filled with dread, after a while you go kind of numb.
Like, I'm exhausted.
So the levity.
Yeah, that's like Warhorse.
Mm-hmm.
I was physically exhausted from crying over that horse by the end of the movie. But Get Out, the symbolism in it is amazing.
Yes, it is a very deep movie. It's worth looking up all the stuff online. But if you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's fantastic.
Seriously, you're gonna love it.
Another one I haven't seen. This might surprise you. Alien from 1979.
My brother was obsessed with that movie. I remember that.
I've seen Aliens, the second one. For some reason, I've never seen the
This
first
is
one.
Sigourney Weaver, right?
Yeah.
Look at me.
Trapped on a ship basically with his
I don't bother with the 30 and below.
But what I've also always heard is that Alien was more of a horror movie, and that Aliens, the second one, was kind of an action movie, which I guess is because it's a group of Marines trying to hunt them down, whereas the first one is this group of scientists being hunted down.
Yeah. It was good, actually. It was really good and really gross.
I own it on Blu-ray. I just haven't gotten around to watching it yet. But Mandy hasn't seen it either.
Did
and I keep
you get
trying
it at,
to,
like, Goodwill or something?
I got it at Big Lots.
I knew it. I was like, you got it somewhere cheap.
It was $5 for the complete Alien quadrilogy on Blu-ray.
Oh, did you just hear my jaw pop?
Yeah, I did. I think people might be able to hear it too.
I know. Okay, but anyway, that's such a thing. Like if you get a cheap movie, you may never watch it. Like you know it's a movie you want if you're gonna pay a little money for it. You like come right home and watch it. But with a cheap movie, you're like, I still haven't seen it.
I'll get around to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go. Let's see. Number 22 on here, Cannibal Holocaust.
Whoa.
It's a rough one. It's a movie that one of the first movies to have like a found footage genre where people, I think there were, if I remember correctly, people actually had to go to court because they thought that the violence was so real.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What is this called?
Cannibal Holocaust from 1980.
You've seen it?
I think I've seen parts of it. Yeah, footage is recovered from a documentary crew that went missing in the Amazon after encountering a cannibalistic tribe.
And they said it's too real.
Yes, I've seen it. Yeah. I would just suggest not watching it unless you
Seriously?
are a real like horror aficionado. Yeah.
It's that bad.
Yeah. Just.
Well, now I want to see it.
You're good. Just steer clear. This is my warning.
No,
Don't
I mean
go
it's
watch
horrible. I mean two horrible things in the title. Like,
but and Eli Roth was the director Eli Roth who did Cabin in the Woods, or not Cabin in the Woods, Cabin Fever, was so inspired by that he made a similar movie called the Green Inferno, which is also that. And that, in the early '80s there were a couple of different cannibal exploitation movies where it's all about people stuck in the woods and like cannibals going after them. Yeah, that's the appropriate reaction right there.
Well, it's so bizarre. I mean, it's like murder.
But it gets a reaction, and if you're, that's the thing.
But it's weird how things like take off. Like, you know what I mean? Cannibalism was the thing, but like now we have My Favorite Murder and like How to Not Get Murdered. You know what I mean? Like, that's like the obsession right now. It's like people are obsessed with serial killers. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
Like,
you think about how in our collective subconscious or whatever, people are very intrigued by that.
I mean, it's fascinating. Like, I don't know why, and I don't love that I am interested in it, but it is.
I mean, you think about, what's his name?
Ted Bundy or...
Well, I was going to say, is it 48
Jeffrey
Hours
Dahmer.
Or Dateline NBC, Keith Morrison?
Oh, yeah.
He's become a star just from being like, oh, yes.
Oh, my God.
they never saw it coming.
Was Dateline the one, like, just the music they played at the beginning? I would run out of the room screaming if my mom was watching it at night. I'm like, no!
So, people have an obsession with that kind of stuff.
Dun, dun, dun,
which explains the success of a lot of these horror movies. Number 19, The Fly, starring Jeff Goldblum.
I love Jeff Goldblum.
Have you ever seen The Fly?
He's my random celebrity
It's
crush.
basically the movies. I think there was originally a version of it back in the 40s or 50s, where so the whole premise is that they're creating this machine that allows people to teleport, and at some point they don't realize it, but a fly accidentally gets in with him, and so then mingles with his DNA.
Whoa!
And so in the 50s, when they popped out on the other side, it literally was like this little bitty fly with a man's head, and then a grown man with the fly's head. But in this movie, it's much more of a body horror type movie where he comes out and he feels normal, he feels great, but then things start changing.
Oh, I love Jeff Goldblum.
He's like, I'm real strong. But yeah, it is definitely like...
Is it scary?
I don't think there are a lot of jump scares, but it is, I would say it's horrific. There are parts where you're just watching like, oh, and screaming. They're squeamish.
Ooh. Well, I really do love him. He's such an odd guy. I'm fascinated by him.
There you go. You should check out The Fly.
You should check out his style and like just
copy that. Just go for that.
Yes.
I mean, he looks great now. Yeah, he is definitely his own thing, and he's just kind of known for being kind of manic, and it's just his own thing.
But like his clothes, he's so suave.
Yeah, no, he looks great.
I love it. Yeah.
Number 17, Carrie.
Oh yeah, I saw the remake, and I do believe I saw the original as well. The remake was no.
Based on Stephen King novel.
Like, the casting was bad. I mean, I'm sorry, but like, the new one, Carrie shouldn't have been.
Chloe Grace Moretz, whatever.
I'm like, I know this sounds bad, but she would not
She's too
she's
cute.
not Carrie.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
yeah.
that's not who Carrie would have
Part
been.
of it is that she was an outsider and kind of
Right,
playing it,
exactly.
yeah.
And I'm like, I can't buy into it when you have Grace Moretz, who's, just a perfect blonde specimen. It's like, that's not Carrie. She would not be Carrie.
Well, there you go. I
The
haven't seen
original
new
was
one,
better.
But
The original was better.
Number 12, The Blair Witch Project. This movie was massive.
Oh, yeah.
If you weren't around back then. So it's kind of when the internet had just started really to take off. Mm-hmm. And so this was kind of the first movie that started having conspiracy theories. There were people who thought it was real. The girl I was dating at the time refused to go see it in the theater because she thought it was literally people dying. And I had to find. There was a night whenever one of the people who was in the movie was on Letterman, and I had to show it to her and be like look,
I promise.
she is alive. I promise, because people believed
It was
that
so
it was so real.
realistic. Yeah.
There was an alternate reality that people had created online where people all thought, the Burkesville Woods. And so if you've never seen the Blair Witch Project, today you might watch it and go, well, there are a lot of movies like that, but this was really the first of you're watching supposedly found footage. And it's impressive how much they did with so little. It's literally just people walking around the woods, but the story and then how scary they made it.
How it's shot is so powerful.
Yeah. Psycho from 1960, number 11. Another one I haven't seen.
Who's in it?
It's with Janet Leigh. The shower scene. That's the one where you start off the movie following her, but then it turns out she gets killed.
Yep. I know exactly what you're talking about. I have not seen that one either, but that's a very iconic thing.
I haven't either, which is sad. Again, I should.
I'm writing it down. My list is getting long already.
Number 10, The Human Centipede first sequence. I'm kind of
knew
surprised
this was going to be
they
in
put
here.
some of these movies on the list because they're so horrific, but I guess that's the point. I would say The Human Centipede is something that you should research first to see if you have any interest in watching it.
And if you do, don't tell people.
Yeah, exactly. That is a good one.
Yeah.
Just steer clear. If somebody tells you that's their favorite movie, that's a warning right there.
I just remember guys were always so fascinated by that in like high school. They'd be like, "Have you seen it? It's so gross."
Oh man.
I'm like, "Oh, you're cool."
There you go.
Sorry, that sounded really mean.
No, I mean
Was that mean of me? But I was like, it is gross. I don't know. I think they.
Number 9, The Shining. That is a terrifying movie, and it's amazing that. So, Stephen King.
I was gonna say, how many Stephen King references have we made already?
Well, Stephen King wrote the book, but the movie takes a lot of deviations because Stanley Kubrick had his own vision, and Stephen King, I guess, disliked it so much that he kind of distanced himself from it, which is obviously a problem because he made this. You can have two great works of art that kind of reference each other but aren't the same.
Right.
I don't know. I don't understand
why he distanced himself.
Yeah, maybe he just felt like it was too different.
Well,
but
I think,
great performance by Jack Nicholson.
Okay, I totally get it. Have you ever? Okay, so I used to be a producer. You know what I mean? Like now I'm an anchor, so I've been on both sides. Like when you write a script and you think it's really good, and then someone gets in and changes it, you're like, "What the heck?"
Yeah, that's true.
Like it was good the way it was. Why'd you change it? So and I've done it to people, and I'm sure they have the same feeling that I did when I was writing stuff. Like, why are you changing this? Like, it was fine, and you kind of take ownership, and you get a little precious about it, and you're just like, excuse me.
And so I guess that's what, Stephen King didn't like that. But.
I get it. I'm not saying it's a good way to be, but I think it's kind of human nature.
Well, they did a remake with the guy from Wings in the 90s on TV, and it did not go well.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh. So maybe she just left it where it was. Number 7, Night of the Living Dead, the original from 1968. George Romero literally started the zombie genre. He's the father of zombies. And, they even say the most influential horror movie of all time.
Wow.
Black and white.
Then why is it number 7?
That's a good question. Maybe because they say it's not the scariest.
Okay. But the most important in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, The Walking Dead today, that exists because of Night of the Living Dead. And if you've ever seen it, it is very scary because it's so quiet.
Yeah.
It's a very quiet horror movie.
Oof,
and
that's unsettling.
It's black and white, so the makeup doesn't even have to be that great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And here's a weird fact about it. He didn't copyright it properly. Oh, so literally people were able to just copy it and then sell their own versions.
Oh, no. Yeah. Not that they weren't doing that already.
Oh, no. I mean, not unlike anything you've ever seen. That's why you always see all these knockoff, like just
I have a
DVDs.
lot of knockoff VHS tapes that my, that someone made for me. I'm not going to call anybody out, but
Number
we
6.
were poor, okay? You do what you got to do.
Oh, I knew that feeling. Yeah, Mom was going like, let's rent some movies and a VHS player.
Yeah. Aw.
Sorry, Mom. Number 6, The Wicker Man from 1973. Not the Nicolas
The
Cage
original.
version. The original. Which is about a guy he's looking for a pagan island, or he's going to pagan island to investigate the disappearance of a girl. And it turns out the pagans are not nice. And there is,
Not nice.
when you find out what The Wicker Man is, it's very
I haven't seen that
terrifying.
one. I haven't seen either of them.
Number 4, Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, yes.
Which I would say is more of a thriller than a horror movie. But still,
It's so good.
yes, very, very good.
It is so good. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I remember the first time I saw it. I mean, it's scary.
Mm-hmm.
It's really scary. The scariest movies to me are the ones that could happen.
Yeah.
And you're like, there are, like I said, we were talking about serial killers earlier. Like, this guy's nuts, but also kind of a genius. You know what I mean? Like, it's scary because it could happen.
Yeah. And Ted Levine as Buffalo Bill. Is that his name?
Ooh.
The serial killer.
Wow.
Puts lotion on his skin.
Oh,
I've got a friend who does a very good impression of him, and he'll do it to Mandy sometimes. And she's like,
stop.
stop.
I know. That just, no. I remember where I was when I watched that one too. Obviously, these are very impressionable because I'm like, I remember I was at Bethany Corman's house. She lived right down the street from me. I walked to her house. She would walk to mine. Like, I didn't have a lot of friends, so I guess it's easy for me to remember.
Well, there you go. Well, you all were probably traumatized by it.
I was traumatized by it.
Number 3 is Halloween, the original, with Jamie Lee Curtis, John Carpenter movie, which they've just literally did a sequel to last year. Kind of introduced Mike Myers. And apparently they'd originally intended Halloween to be kind of a trilogy.
You mean Michael Myers?
I said Mike Myers. But yes, Michael
That
Myers.
makes me think of Austin Powers because that's me.
Anyway, they'd originally intended it to be, an anthology. So each story would be different because they even have Halloween Season of the Witch, which is a completely different story that doesn't have Mike Myers. But I guess there was a backlash because people liked Michael Myers so much that they brought him back.
See,
They
that's
abandoned that.
what I'm talking about. It's like the redeemable villain. Like for some reason you want more of him.
Yeah.
Is he redeemable? I don't know.
No, he's not. He's crazy. But that's the thing. People still you think of these horror icons and people become fans of them. Freddy, Jason, they're so popular. Chucky, people like Chucky.
I don't
People
get it.
so that's people cheering for.
We're messed up.
these villains. Speaking of horror movie icons, number 1, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1974, the introduction of Leatherface.
Ooh. Do
Yeah.
you agree with number 1?
As Scariest, yeah. I mean, it is again another kind of low budget and so grainy that it is terrifying though. So yeah,
That's
I got
the
no
thing
problem
about
with that.
horror movies. Like low budgets, you have to be so creative that sometimes it makes it
Yeah.
better. You know what I mean? It's like, ooh.
One of my Mark Rosewater, one of my favorite game designers, he says restrictions breed creativity.
Yes.
And so whenever people have to figure out ways that they can do stuff, yeah, there's Kevin Smith did a horror movie once called Red State, and they had originally intended at the beginning of it. There's this young man who's killed by this cult, and he had wanted them to create this giant, like, I'm moving microphones, a boar's head or a deer's head, something like that, to put on him that he would wear it just wasn't in the budget. So what they ended up doing was wrapping the guy in saran wrap.
Uh-huh.
And the guy just shot him in the head. And so then you see it, like everything come down through the saran wrap. Way scarier than
Way
some random. Yeah,
worse.
I'm like, whoa. So, and he even said, because they had to figure out a different way to do it.
Well, that reminds me of another story that's not scary at all. So a different version of this, but I think I may have even mentioned it on the podcast before, but I thought it was so fascinating. This world famous pianist was called by a young girl who wanted him to come to some function that she was hosting. Like she was maybe like in high school or maybe young in college. And like this was a huge get for her, a huge deal. So he shows up, I think just doing a little charity, like, all right, I'll do it. And like the piano they gave him was awful. Like just a piece of junk. Like keys were not working. Like, the pedals weren't working either. And he was like, I'm not doing this. Like, this is going to be embarrassing. But it ended up being his best-selling album. Someone recorded it. And because he was forced to just
Improvise.
And, he's a genius, obviously. And you have to be a genius to be able to to still do well against adversity. Like, adversity doesn't just make you still have to have talent. But yeah, it was like his best performance of all time because it was so different. And like they said, he was sweating, like banging on the keys because he didn't have anything, like the pedals weren't working, so he had to like physically. Yeah, like it was really cool. So I was like, that's a neat story. And just like you say, it's because there were obstacles in his way, like he had to overcome, and it just puts you in a different mindset, a different zone.
So there you go.
Love it.
A walk through horror movie history. During this scary time of year, feel free to watch some scary movies. What do you think it is that makes people want to be scared? It's kind of like a roller coaster.
It's thrilling.
Yeah, you think it's kind of the safety. You know that you're not actually in danger, but you get to experience that.
You know what's weird? Okay, so this is funny. Someone messaged me, a friend of mine from college, and was like, "Where have you been?" And in my head, my response was, "I'm literally in the same place at the same time every single day." Like, that's a weird question. I think it's just the fact that like sometimes life can be very mundane. You need these jolts.
Monotonous, and it breaks it up.
Yeah, so it's like, I was thinking last time, I was like, whoa, that's super depressing. I was like, you know what I mean? So it's weird that you asked that question, but yeah, I think it's just like, you need that feeling every now and then to just wake you up and just, I don't know, it's cool, it's fun.
Yeah.
Take you out of reality a little bit.
There you go, and I think there's something about being able to be scared, but in a controlled environment. Because you can decide how scared you want to get. If it gets too scary,
yeah, I don't want to be scarred.
You can turn off Scooby-Doo, which is again another reason why, and I think that's one of the other reasons that, if you have kids, you should definitely monitor how old they are and try to make sure, because when you're little and you watch something like that and it's scary, that will stick with you forever.
But also in a way, it's almost like you're so oblivious that it doesn't.
I don't know, man. Freddie scared me for a long time.
No, I'm not saying in all cases this is true, but in some cases, I'm like I'll watch something I watched when I was a little later. I'm like, should not have seen that.
But you don't even realize it at the time.
Yeah, like at the time, I was like, I was unfazed.
Yeah. So there we go, everybody. Those are that's our beginning of spooky October.
I'm so excited.
Sorry, I should have said Spooktober.
Laugh.
Ha 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 ha.
How good is that? You
Spooktober sounds awful.
You didn't let it play out.
We have to come up with some sort of better tagline, but there we go. Andrea, do you have a favorite thing this week?
Yes.
Okay.
And it is from you. It's whatever you made and brought into the newsroom with your special sauce. My gosh.
I thought we weren't doing food.
I've given up on that.
All right. Well, so that thing ties into my favorite thing this week.
Okay.
Last weekend, myself and 15 or 16 other guys got a cabin in the Red River Gorge.
Sounds like the start of a horror movie.
It actually does sound, yeah. It's like, well, speaking of scary movies. No, and we all just packed up a bunch of board games, and we spent 3 or 4 days playing board games.
Good for you. I bet that was fun.
It was fantastic. And, yeah, so I can talk about some of my favorites in a second. But one of the things we did was, not all of us, but some of us signed up for meals, and I had breakfast Saturday morning.
You guys are so organized with your fun.
Well, so here's the thing. The guy who's kind of in charge of it all is a professor at UK. So he has spreadsheets and everything else.
Love it.
So we even do this thing where, if you're providing a meal, you send your receipts in, and then they split the cost, so everybody.
Wow.
Yeah. Then that way somebody's not responsible.
Everybody feels fair.
Like the guy who brought burgers and brats and everything, he's going to spend $70 or $80, but that way he'll get $50 back or whatever from so.
Nice. That's really good.
Well, and so everybody's not stuck with the cost. And shout out to Tom. He handles all that stuff.
Because it's so awkward when you're like, I don't know, I get stuck.
Exactly. Like, you go, well, I spent all this money, and this guy.
Right, and this guy didn't. He got the plates. Like.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. So
I love that, but y'all are just so upfront about it. It's like.
Oh, we are, and that way there's no hard
hard
feelings because everybody knows. It's like, okay, well, so we all pitch in on this, and then drinks are your own thing if you want to bring something to drink. Mm-hmm. That way you're not paying for anybody's alcohol. So that works out. So my thing was a breakfast Saturday morning. And so I did a blueberry French toast casserole that Mandy had actually started making at the house, although she had never made the sauce that goes along with it.
Victor says he's improved it.
Well, no, the sauce is part of the recipe. It's just it takes a little bit of extra time. But basically, it's a few loaves of bread. I like to get like bakery bread, rip it up.
Good bread.
You put a layer of bread, then you drop in cubes of cream cheese.
And you tear up the bread, by the way.
Tear up the bread, cubes of cream cheese, blueberries, put another layer of bread on top. And then over the top of that, you pour a mixture of about a dozen eggs, but some milk, vanilla.
Well, you made a
maple
huge
syrup.
amount,
I
by
ended
the
up
way.
I made 2 big pans of it because last year I made it and it all got eaten, and I thought, well, I don't want
That's
anybody to
happening
miss.
again.
Yeah, so I ended up with an extra pan. So then you pour that egg mixture over it, let it sit in the fridge overnight so the bread absorbs everything, and then you bake it, and it all
And then
cooks.
pour the sauce.
And the sauce is literally just water, sugar, cornstarch. You boil that until the sugar all melts and it gets boiling. Then you drop a cup of blueberries in. The blueberries, and then get it down to simmer. The blueberries will eventually pop, and it creates this just blueberry sauce that is great. And you pour that over it.
I'm not happy about the amount of.
So I brought my
that
excess.
I ate.
I brought the excess one to the station, and Andrea, she I was proud of her.
Oh yeah. Well, it was funny. I was the one that I saw it on Facebook and I was like, why? I didn't know you had this in you.
And I said, you know what? I'm going to bring it onto the station because otherwise it's going to sit at the house and I'm going to eat it.
Exactly. And I do that too. I'm like, I don't need this temptation sitting around me. So he walked in to the break room the other day and I was sitting there heating up his breakfast casserole and it was so good.
And you had it 2 days in a row. There was enough.
I sure did. And I didn't want to admit it, but I remember the day you walked in, or maybe it wasn't you, but I was eating a salad that I had brought.
Yeah.
And I didn't want the salad, but I ate it at the time.
Offset?
No, to empty the container, and I took some home.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's hilarious.
Yes, I still have more. I'm so happy.
Well, that's good. I mean, I'm glad people enjoyed it.
But yeah, no, I wasn't offsetting. I was just emptying.
Well, I will share the recipe on Twitter.
Oh, it's so good.
So yeah, that was your favorite thing, and my favorite thing is just spending time with friends. Got to play a lot of board games, and just away from the world. It was nice.
Like
Although
I said, it's not
we
the
did still have
games,
Wi-Fi.
it's the company.
Exactly, it's getting to spend time with friends
Yeah.
in a situation.
I love that you're out in a cabin in nature inside playing.
Oh, that's the
games.
funniest thing. I haven't thought about this.
I love it.
We could have also just done this at one of our houses, but then we would have
No, it's
people
more fun
around.
this
And yeah,
way.
exactly. There's no distractions.
You have to get away. Exactly. Yeah, you have to be away. That's why going to the movies, I have to go to the movies because if I sit and try to watch a movie at home, I have a really hard time not doing a chore. Or, like if I'm
your phone's
snacking,
right there.
it's like I want to
It's
go throw everything. Like I don't know.
Also,
it's tough.
In the middle of that was my 20-year high school reunion in Clay City. It was at the Amvets in Clay City. We had a real good time. So Saturday night, I left the cabin for a little bit to drive down to Clay City because I was already in Powell County. And it worked out time-wise for me. I wasn't even sure if I was going to go at first, but I am real glad I did. It was good, just catching up with people, and it was funny because it was like we walked in and we were all just like back in high school.
Oh, it's weird. Those formative years are so important.
Yeah,
you don't realize
exactly.
You don't realize how important these
There's something
people are
about
and how impactful.
Yes.
It's so bizarre. Like the things I think are cool, or I only think that because of the people I went to high school with. Like if they liked it, I was like, oh yeah.
Well, there's something about growing up with those people and you feel like they really know you.
Oh, it's true.
And so
it is so true. That's why I think people are so connected to their hometowns. It's not the hometown itself. It's just like the people there know you.
These are the people that were around you when you formed.
Yeah, it's like they're the most unconditional love you can get because they saw your awkward years. You know what I mean? Like if they still like you through that 7th grade, then they've got to be your real friends.
So shout out to Powell County High School class of 1999.
Aww,
It was a good time.
I love it. Party like it's 1999.
There you go. We had some good music. Oh, and a special thanks to Jason Rogers. And
Organized it.
Yeah, he busted his butt to. He was kind of in charge of it all, and he made it happen, and everybody just had a really good time.
That would make me so nervous.
He did a good job. He's also he's in a
be
band.
nervous to plan it and nobody come.
Yeah. Well, he's just he's on top of. He's in a band. 1985. They play like 80s rock music.
I love it.
And so if you need a band, seek them out.
If I ever
for
get
an
married.
event. But so
coming
he's
for ya.
kind of used to already planning stuff, and he did a good job. All
Can
right.
you hear it?
I can hear that grape some, yeah. But we're finishing up, so it's fine if you want to eat a little bit.
Sorry.
So, Andrea, eat your grape.
Is it working?
Yeah, there you go. All right, everybody. Oh, well, we'll have a very spooky goodbye. Bye, everybody.
Bye.